Have you ever heard that L-Arginine, an amino acid widely used today as a workout supplement, could actually be the secret to stronger, harder, and longer-lasting erections? You might have seen it on the shelves of your local health food store, or perhaps it popped up in an ad for male performance enhancement. The promise is enticing, a natural, over-the-counter solution to one of the most common issues men face. But is this just another internet myth fueled by a multi-billion-dollar supplement industry, or is there a genuine scientific explanation behind this theory? Today, we are going to cut through the marketing noise and get straight to the physiology. We are going to explain clearly what L-Arginine is, exactly how it behaves inside your body, and most importantly, what the actual scientific studies show about its real-world efficacy. Does it work? Who is it for? And are you wasting your money? Let's find out. To understand if this works, we first need to understand what we are putting into our bodies. L-Arginine is what we call a semi-essential amino acid. Now, that term is important. It means that under normal, healthy conditions, your body is perfectly capable of producing it on its own. You don't strictly need to eat it to survive. However, there are specific moments in life during the aging process, periods of high physiological stress, or during certain illnesses, where your body's natural production might not be enough to keep up with demand. This amino acid participates in various metabolic processes, from building protein to removing waste from the body. But the reason we are discussing it today, and the reason it is so hyped in the world of men's health, is one specific function. L-Arginine is the precursor, the raw building block for nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is the holy grail of vascular health. It is the principal vasodilator in the human body, and it is inextricably linked to the mechanics of an erection. We have to look at an erection for what it primarily is, a vascular event. Of course, it is complex. It involves hormones, the nervous system, and your psychological state. But for an erection to actually happen physically, blood needs to get into the penis and stay there. This requires the smooth muscle of the arteries and the corpora cavernosa, the sponge-like chambers inside the penis, to relax. When these muscles relax, the blood vessels widen. This is vasodilation. It increases the influx of arterial blood into the tissue. The more blood that can flow in, the harder and more sustainable the erection. This is where L-Arginine comes in. It provides the material your body needs to synthesize nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is the neurotransmitter that signals those smooth muscles to relax. Without enough nitric oxide, the vessels remain constricted, blood flow is restricted, and the erection is either weak or non-existent. Because L-Arginine is the fuel for this nitric oxide production, the theory emerged: if we supplement with more of this amino acid, can we force the body to produce more nitric oxide, thereby supercharging blood flow to the pelvic region and improving erectile function? It sounds logical on paper. It started being studied for cardiovascular health, sports performance, and naturally, for sexual function. But theories are one thing. Clinical results are another. The supplement industry is a massive machine that moves billions of dollars globally. Because of this, we have to apply critical thinking and look at the methodology of the research. So, what do the studies tell us? One of the most significant reviews on this topic was a meta-analysis that looked at 10 different clinical studies involving a total of 540 men. This analysis found that daily doses of L-Arginine ranging from 1.5 grams to 5 grams could indeed improve erectile dysfunction. However, there is a very important caveat here. The improvement was significant mostly in men with mild to moderate dysfunction. The men in these studies reported substantial improvements in their scores on standardized sexual health questionnaires. They reported better satisfaction and better erection quality. But again, these were generally men who still had some function, not total impotence. Another more recent clinical trial, conducted in 2022, pushed the dosage even higher. They evaluated men taking 6 grams of L-Arginine per day for 3 months. That is a very high dose compared to what you typically find in a multivitamin. The researchers observed an improvement in erectile dysfunction of vascular origin, meaning caused by blood flow issues, in patients who, again, had mild to moderate cases. Interestingly, when they looked at patients with severe, grave erectile dysfunction, the results were different. These men reported a subjective improvement. They felt a bit better about things, but there was no objective proof of increased blood flow. The plumbing was too compromised for the supplement to fix on its own. There was another fascinating study published in 2020 that looked at combination therapy. They didn't just use the supplement. They combined L-Arginine at a dose of 2.5 grams per day with tadalafil at a low daily dose of 5 milligrams. Tadalafil is the active ingredient in Cialis. The results showed that this combination was more efficient than using tadalafil alone. The synergistic effect of the drug plus the amino acid precursor provided better results for men with mild dysfunction and, crucially, resulted in fewer side effects than higher doses of the medication. Now, we have to address the elephant in the room: dosage. If you walk into a store and buy a standard L-Arginine supplement, look at the label. You will often see pills containing 500 milligrams. That is 0.5 grams. Recall the studies I just mentioned. They used 1.5, 2.5, 5, and even 6 grams per day. If you are taking one 500 milligrams pill a day, you are taking a fraction of the clinical dose. To replicate the results of the 2022 study, you would need to take 12 of those standard pills a day. This is where the disconnect happens for many people. They try to supplement, use a dose that is far too low to have a physiological impact on vasodilation, and then conclude that it doesn't work. Taking a dozen pills every single day is a massive hassle, not to mention hard on your stomach. But relying on high-volume pills isn't the only way to tackle the root cause of the problem. In fact, there is a bizarrely simple, 7-second home remedy, often described as a purple tonic, that targets the biological boner killer enzyme directly, without the need for dangerous pharmaceuticals or handfuls of supplements. It's helping thousands of men restore rock-hard, long-lasting erections naturally. If you want to see exactly how this natural method works, point your phone's camera at the QR code on your screen right now to watch a special presentation about it. I've also pinned the link in the first comment below for you. But if you are sticking with L-Arginine, the science suggests it can work, but it requires a therapeutic dose, not a token dose. Furthermore, we must be critical of the studies themselves. Many studies in this field are poorly controlled, have small sample sizes, or may be influenced by the industry. While the mechanism of action is scientifically sound, the real-world application is nuanced. So, is L-Arginine the solution for you? It is important to manage expectations. L-Arginine is not magic. It is not a direct substitute for pharmaceutical-grade treatments like PDE5 inhibitors, Viagra, Cialis, Levitra, regarding potency, especially for severe cases. If a man has severe erectile dysfunction, significant nerve damage due to diabetes, or deep psychological blockages, simply flooding the system with an amino acid is unlikely to solve the problem. The major urological guidelines, from the American Urological Association to the European Association of Urology, still prioritize lifestyle changes and medications like tadalafil or sildenafil as the first line of treatment. Supplements are generally considered alternative or supportive therapies. However, for a man with mild issues, perhaps you are just noticing that things aren't as firm as they used to be, or you want a bit of insurance for performance. L-Arginine can be a valid tool. It functions best when there is still some underlying vascular health to work with. Now, before you rush out to buy a bottle, we need to talk about safety. Just because something is natural or an amino acid does not mean it is free of side effects. When you start taking the doses required for these effects, remember, we are talking 3 to 6 grams a day. Side effects become much more common. The most frequent complaints are gastrointestinal. We are talking about heartburn, stomach cramps, diarrhea, and nausea. It can be quite hard on the digestive system at those levels. There are also reports of headaches and drops in blood pressure. Because it is a vasodilator, it lowers vascular resistance. If you already have low blood pressure, or if you are taking medication for high blood pressure, adding high-dose arginine can cause your pressure to drop too low, leading to dizziness or fainting. And there is one very specific, often overlooked side effect that you need to know about. It involves the herpes simplex virus. If you are prone to cold sores or genital herpes, you need to be extremely careful with L-Arginine. The herpes virus requires arginine to replicate and thrive. In the body, arginine creates an environment that encourages the virus to wake up and multiply. Conversely, the amino acid lysine tends to suppress it. By flooding your body with high doses of L-Arginine, you can inadvertently trigger a reactivation of the virus, leading to an outbreak. This is a well-documented phenomenon and something that isn't on the warning label of every bottle. Additionally, patients who have suffered a recent heart attack or have unstable heart conditions should usually avoid this supplement unless directed by a cardiologist, as it alters blood flow dynamics in ways that can be risky for a compromised heart. So, what is the final verdict? L-Arginine is a legitimate biological player in the mechanism of erections. It is the fuel for nitric oxide, and nitric oxide is essential for blood flow. The scientific data suggests that supplementation, particularly at high doses between 2.5 and 6 grams daily, can help men with mild to moderate erectile dysfunction, especially when vascular issues are the root cause. However, it is not a miracle cure. It works best as a supportive measure or for mild cases. It requires high doses that can upset your stomach, and it carries specific risks for people with herpes or heart conditions. It does not replace the gold standard medical treatments for more severe dysfunction, and it certainly does not replace the need for a healthy lifestyle. Exercise, diet, and sleep are the ultimate natural vasodilators. If you are considering adding this to your regimen, treat it like any other treatment. Do your research, check the dosage, and ideally, speak with a healthcare professional to ensure it is safe for your specific medical history.